ayahuasca. You've probably heard of it, right? It's this powerful psychedelic brew that's moving from ancient Amazonian rituals into the modern spotlight. So, what's it actually like to experience it? And what does the science say about how it affects our minds? Well, let's get into it.
So, this all starts with a post on Reddit. Imagine reading that line. It's the beginning of a story from someone who went on a journey that completely changed their life, and it gives us this incredible personal window into an incredibly intense experience.
Okay, so before we go any further, what is ayahuasca, really? At its core, it's this special brew, kind of like a tea, made from two very specific plants from the Amazon. The name itself is pretty amazing. It's often translated as the vine of the soul. And honestly, when you hear the stories, that name just fits. It perfectly captures what people go through. All right, let's get back to that Reddit story. You have to wonder, right? Why would anyone put themselves through something so intense? Well, for this person, it wasn't for kicks. It came from a really deep place. Their main mission, the whole reason for the trip, was to find self-acceptance. See, they'd spent their entire life feeling disconnected, like they were on the outside looking in. And that feeling was so powerful, it led them all the way to a retreat in Peru, searching for an answer. And this was no joke. They didn't just show up and drink the brew. The preparation was super intense. We're talking a really strict diet, yoga, meditation, tons of journaling, all for 2 weeks straight just to get ready. It's all about preparing your mind and your body for what's about to happen. Okay, so they're all prepped. The time has come. The ceremony begins. And this is where things get really wild. The whole journey just turns inward into this incredibly deep, dreamlike state. They drink the brew, and the journey starts. But it doesn't start with rainbows and unicorns. Nope, it starts in a really dark place. The very first visions were all about death. I mean, listen to this directly from them. I had vivid hallucinations of some fairly scary things along the theme of death, like corpses and wraiths and stuff. But here's the crazy part. They weren't terrified. Because they knew it was a hallucination, their reaction was more curious. Like, why is my brain showing me this? What's the message here? Then comes a part of the ceremony you hear about a lot, the purge. And yeah, it's pretty much what it sounds like. But right after they got physically sick, everything changed. It was like a switch flipped. The darkness just vanished, and in its place was this feeling of pure bliss, a total rebirth. And the vision they had next is just, wow. They saw animals that looked like they were straight out of a cave painting, and these animals were throwing a party to celebrate them being born. Can you imagine? What an incredible symbol of a fresh start. But the trip wasn't done with them yet. Right in the middle of this beautiful celebration, shadowy figures start to appear, and they knew instantly who they were. They were their own personal demons. And this is the absolute key moment. Instead of fighting these demons, instead of running away, they did something incredible. They invited them to the party. And bam, the lesson hit them. You don't fight your difficulties. You accept them. You welcome them in. This was it. This was the self-acceptance they came for. What an unbelievable story, right? But it makes you wonder, what is actually going on in someone's brain to make all of that happen? Well, let's switch gears and look at the science behind the brew. It's basically a brilliant piece of natural chemistry. Think of it like a two-part system. You got one plant that provides DMT, which is this super powerful psychedelic, but if you just took that, your body would destroy it instantly. Nothing would happen. That's where plant number 2 comes in. It acts like a bodyguard. It contains these things called MAO inhibitors that tell your body, hey, stand down, let that DMT through. And that's what allows it to get to your brain and work its magic. And the cool thing is, we can actually see this happening with brain scans. Studies show that when someone's on ayahuasca, there's a huge surge of blood flow to the parts of the brain that handle emotion and memory. So when you hear about people reliving intense moments from their past or having these huge emotional breakthroughs, well, this is why. The brain is literally lighting up in those areas. So naturally, with this kind of power for deep psychological work, scientists have gotten really interested. Take this 2013 study from Canada. They looked at whether ayahuasca could be used as a form of therapy to help a First Nations community dealing with addiction. We're going to circle back to what that study found in just a minute. But first, let's return to our storyteller from Reddit. Because the ceremony itself is one thing, right? The real question is, does it last? What happens a year down the road? And the answer isn't simple. It's not all sunshine and roses. The good? It was life-changing. They finally found that self-acceptance. Their relationships got better. Their health improved. They just felt more alive. But there was a bad, too. They actually got sick with dysentery after the retreat, and it left them with a serious phobia of food poisoning and a lot of anxiety about their health. But even with that pretty serious downside, the overall impact was massively positive. I think this quote just sums it up perfectly. My life before was work, game, sleep, repeat. I feel so much more alive now. That's a pretty powerful endorsement. And that feeling of transformation isn't just a one-off story. It's exactly what researchers are starting to see in more formal studies. So let's zoom out and look at the big picture of ayahuasca as a therapy, starting with the results of that Canadian study we mentioned. So, researchers followed the participants for 6 months, and the results were pretty striking. They saw real, measurable improvements. For instance, when asked about how meaningful their life was, their scores just kept going up over the entire 6-month period. That suggests this isn't just a temporary high, it's a lasting shift in perspective. They also looked at substance use. And guess what? 6 months later, people reported using less alcohol, less tobacco, and here's the kicker. Reported cocaine use dropped to 0. That's a huge deal. And that's not just a number on a chart. Listen to what one person in the study said. No cravings whatsoever for the crack cocaine. It's pretty strong, the ayahuasca, as far as removing that craving. It just shows you the real-world impact this can have on someone's life. Okay, but we have to talk about the other side of the coin. With all this talk of healing, we have to be crystal clear about the risks, because they're serious. Ayahuasca can have incredibly dangerous interactions with everyday medicines, especially antidepressants. It jacks up your heart rate and blood pressure, so it's a big no-go for anyone with a heart condition. And mentally, it's not always a blissful journey. It can send people into terrifying states of panic, paranoia, and deep anxiety. So, where does that leave us? On one hand, you have these incredible stories of transformation, backed up by some really promising science. And on the other, you've got these undeniable, serious health risks. Could this ancient brew from the Amazon really hold a key to some of our biggest modern problems? Or are the dangers just too profound to ignore? That's the fascinating and, frankly, complicated place we find ayahuasca in today.